Welcome back, everyone. Next up, we have Transition Metals Corp. It trades on the OTC Pink sheets under the symbol TNTMF and on the TSXV under the symbol XTM, and is a Canadian-based multi-commodity explorer that specializes in converting new exploration ideas into discoveries. The award-winning team of geoscientists has extensive exploration experience, which actively develops and tests new ideas for discovering mineralization in places that others have not looked, often allowing the company to acquire properties inexpensively. Today, we'll be speaking with the president and CEO, Scott McLean. A few highlights on Scott. Scott was awarded the Canadian Prospector of the Year award for the discovery of a nickel mine in Sudbury, Ontario, called Nickel Rim South in 2004, as well as the Ontario Discovery of the Year award, together with the Transition team and its partner Impala Holdings, for the discovery of the Sunday Lake deposit in 2014. Scott, we're so happy to have you on our conference and really excited to hear about these exciting prospects you have. So take it away.
Oh, thanks, Anna. Geez, I was just listening to the intro there and recognizing we're due for another discovery. I had an award in 2004 and one in 2014. We're coming up to 2024, so maybe 2023 is the year for discovery and another award next year. Just was noticing that as you were introducing me. But listen, Transition Metals has been around for a while. It's a highly valued company. I think hopefully the listeners will take away from this that it's a bit of a diamond in the rough. It has significant value in its assets. It doesn't get that recognition on the market in terms of market cap. Its share structure is very tight, as I'll show you, and it's a company that's been able to offer its shareholders share dividends from time to time, and we hope to be able to do that again in the future. We'll be making some forward-looking statements through the presentation. I remind everybody to take some things with a grain of salt and do your research before investing. But we look forward to having more investment come from this conference. In terms of the company, why would you invest in Transition Metals? I know this audience invests in a diverse portfolio of investments. This one is a junior mining company. It has a highly experienced team that has a proven track record of discovery. And unlike many traditional juniors, we have a large pipeline of projects, so over 20 projects. We often partner those out to other companies, but the key projects that we really want to invest ourselves, we focus on. Those are generally large-scale, high-quality exploration projects. And some of the key projects we'll focus on this year include Maude Lake, which is a nickel-copper platinum group platinum group metal project in Ontario, Canada. Pike Warden, which is a very large, brand new silver, gold, copper project in the Yukon territory of Canada. And Sunday Lake Saturday Night, which are sister projects in the Thunder Bay region of Ontario, primarily platinum group metals, but also some nickel and copper opportunities. In terms of our share structure, you can see that we're very tightly held. We have about $1 million in cash, and with a $50,000 per month burn rate, that can carry us a little ways down the runway. Only 57 million shares outstanding. We've been in business for over a decade, have been able to really keep that share structure tight, and had no consolidations whatsoever, no warrants outstanding, no overhanging warrants, some options to our directors and officers and some of our employees. So on a fully diluted basis, about 62 million shares outstanding. Today, we're sitting a little lower than 9 cents, but when we put this slide together, we're at 9 cents on the TSXV, probably 6 cents on the pink sheets, and it gives us a market cap in around that $5 million range. We've seen a sort of a steady decline in share price along with the markets through the last part of last year. And now we're starting to get a bit more energy as we come into the field season, and hopefully some great results to come down the pike. Looking at this slide, I mean, this slide is interesting. The company has never really had to raise a lot of money. We've raised about $10 million through private placements. That works out to be about a 17 Canadian cent per share offering over time. But we've spent probably closer to $40 million of expenditures on the projects. And that's primarily coming from partners that we've held on different projects. When we look at the asset value of the company, our assets sit up there around $22 million. It's been as high as about $30 million in the past. A lot of our marketable securities have come down in price, along with many of the market offerings or issuers, particularly during the last part of last year. But we have a fair bit in cash. Cash and securities are fairly measurable. We also hold a number of royalties, milestone payments, and a big bundle of properties. The market only places a value on our cash and securities, essentially. Gives us no value for royalties, milestone payments, or our properties. We have a good shareholdings of marketable securities that we're able to sell into the market from time to time to bring revenue into the company. A couple of the key ones are SPC Nickel and Canadian Gold Miner. These are actually spin-outs out of our company. We created these companies and put assets into them, took back securities, and then have suffered dilution within those companies rather than within the principal company of Transition Metals. SPC Nickel is focused on nickel projects in the world's greatest nickel camp in Sudbury, Ontario. We currently hold about 8% of the stock. We had dividended out a fair bit of the stock to our shareholders in 2021. Canadian Gold Miner is the next company ready to go public. It's still private. It's focused on gold in the Northern Ontario. This company hopefully will go public in the first half of 2023. Again, a number of other holdings and these projects, we generally hold the SPC and Canadian Gold Miner stock fairly close to our chest, but some of the other stocks we're able to kind of move into the market from time to time. Just talk a little bit about SPC Nickel. We did hold 15.5 million shares at one time. We did do a share dividend out to our shareholders, reducing our shareholdings to below 10%. And we currently hold about 9.3 million shares. That company has had some significant news later. It's really focused on the world's greatest nickel camp in Sudbury, and also has controls almost the entire muskox intrusion in Nunavut, which is one of the world's last large igneous mineralized systems. Recently, one of our key projects in Sudbury is called our Lockerbie East and our Graham West and Crane Hill 3 project, which we recently did an agreement with Vale, one of the world's largest companies that controls much of the Sudbury camp. This is really helpful as it's kind of converting SPC from an explorer into a developer over time. We currently have about 10 million tons of resources near surface on our side of the project, on the SPC side of the project. We were able to kind of do a cooperation agreement that brought in another about 16 million tons, we hope, or what we're guessing or estimating to be on the Vale side. So overall, Vale is providing about 2/3 of the resource, SPC about 1/3 of the resource, but SPC will get 63% of the profit. So it's a good deal for the company that will drive us towards a development decision in the next couple of years. In terms of other projects we have, these are right across Canada. A bundle of gold projects, copper, PGM, and nickel projects, and as well as a silver project. A good nexus of projects in Ontario, some in the Maritimes, in the Prairies, in BC, and a key one up in the Yukon. The projects I'll be talking to you about today include Maude Lake, which is a nickel copper PGM project in Ontario. Pike Warden, which is a brand new project we have, silver gold bonanza grades that we've got on this project, very large scale, and PGM projects at Sunday Lake Saturday Night in Ontario. Oh, there we go. So those are the projects. We'll just take a quick look. Now, the next few slides may be a little technical for some of the audience, and I'll try and keep it simple, and recognizing that the investors have a broader, diverse interest in the market than just mining projects. But Pike Warden is a key project for us. We'll be doing work on that this year. It's a very large project, about 37 square kilometers in the Yukon, so that's about 15 square miles in near south of Whitehorse. It's it's a large mineralized system. We have already over 18 zones of high-grade mineralization. Some of our sampling last year brought in some significant grades, close to 12 grams or 0.3 ounces per ton gold, 1,200 grams per ton silver, so maybe 400 ounces per ton, some high-grade copper and lead as well. And we are the first people to actually go on and drill this project. No drills have ever been on the project, and we had drilled 3 holes and had some significant results, including 21 meters of 104 grams or close to 40 ounces per ton silver equivalent with some bonanza grades as well. We really like this ERT zone, which is the one we drilled when we were out doing our work. We came across this showing, which was significant in width, 42 meters, grading about 62 grams per ton, and went in and drilled it, having these significant results. So these are bonanza silver grades that we're getting on this project, which is part of a bigger system. If we look at this cross section, which is difficult for non-technical people to understand, but it does give you an understanding of the size of the project. That's 2 kilometers or 1.6 miles across a large intrusive volcanic system where we get a lot of different styles of mineralization. These are the kinds of projects that big companies really focus on. They're big scale, large projects. And we have 18 known showings to date. And again, some fairly significant showings that we've kind of come up with. Silver Train having 2.3% copper and some high grades and some silver. Lead Gold Saddle having high grade gold and silver. Boots with high grade copper, and Bonanza with gold and silver. And notably, we came up with a brand new showing this year, which is one we reported in one of the earlier slides, which was very high grade. So what I'll leave you with, without getting into the technical parts of this project, is it's big, it's high grade, it's brand new, and it's got some bonanza grades that will excite the market as we continue to work this project. Maude Lake is a nickel project in Ontario, as I mentioned earlier. It's a project that was known in the past. In fact, there was a historical resource, non-compliant resource that was done in the 60s on it that had some small tonnage of moderate grade mineralization. We went in and sampled the outcrops, had some very high grade nickel, being 6.5%, close to 6.5% nickel. And the thing that really excited us about this was that the tenors, what that means is how much nickel do we have in 100% sulfide, which would be the hosting mineral that would host the pay metal. And it's very high, being greater than 5%, almost up to 6% in some cases. That was exciting for us as nickel explorers and nickel discoverers. We thought this was a pretty interesting project. We went in and did some geophysics. So 2 different surveys, one to measure through an airplane over the project and measured how conductive the rocks were, how they conduct electricity, and how magnetic they were. The showing itself at surface had semi-massive, so very high-grade sulfides at surface. Our sampling returned 4.26 meters of 1.27 nickel with copper and cobalt. That enticed us to fly the survey that I mentioned in the previous slide. And this is the magnetic survey, which shows a large magnetic body that's hosting the mineralization, very much untested. And when we flew over and tested for how conductive, how well do the rocks conduct electricity, we noticed that the surface showing produced a very small anomaly, but there was this very significant anomaly to the south that had no drill holes in it. We decided to go in and drill that, and lo and behold, we hit what we call magmatic sulfides. So the types of mineralization that we're looking for, a very high tenor, and some good grades in a number of intersections. This is this is going to be a large project, we think. The extent of the hosting rocks that host the mineralization are extensive. We've only drilled 3 holes into it. We're looking to get back in there and do a much more robust drill program in 2023. The last projects I'll talk to you about are Sunday Lake and Saturday Night. Sunday Lake is a project we discovered. They sit just north of Thunder Bay, Ontario. So this is part of Lake Superior down here, south of the Impala Lac des Îles mill. We discovered Sunday Lake in 2013, got our award in 2014 together with our partners Impala. It's a pretty interesting deposit that's ready for a maiden resource. We've had about 26 or 27 drill holes put into it now. Our interest is completely protected. We have a 25% free carry in this project, and Impala has a 75% project, which they have to spend the money. The best intersection to date is 41 meters of about 5 grams PGMs, which is pretty exciting stuff. And the other project in the area right along strike from that is Saturday Night, where we have 100% interest, exactly the same geology and geophysics as Sunday Lake, and only 1 drill hole which we placed into the hole, so into the intrusion. So as compared to a Sunday Lake, which has had 26, 27 holes into it. Saturday Night is a brand new project with only 1 that we'd like to get a lot more work done on it. Again, for the non-technical people, these slides are maybe a little confusing, but this is a map of magnetic responses in the Thunder Bay area. So this is 10 kilometers across here, so there's about 50-kilometer width here. And all of these sort of blue and red, reversely positively oriented magnetic anomalies are mineralized bodies, very similar to what we see on the American side at Lundin's Eagle Mine and Talon Resources, Rio Tinto's Tamarack Mine in Minnesota and Michigan. Sunday Lake is the largest of these magnetic expressions. Thunder Bay North is the most advanced project in the area. However, this one's bigger and more significant, in our opinion. And looking at the cross-section, so this is a slice through the earth, vertical slice through the earth, the sky being up here, the moho or at depths going down to the south, down to the bottom of the slide. And we have now a mineralized body, which is about 1,500 meters by 800 meters in size and still open. That's to give that put that in context. That's about the size of 225 football fields and up to 14 stories thick of mineralization. This is the real deal. These deposits are hard to find around the world. This is a very interesting high-grade PGM project right here in Ontario and one of the great jurisdictions to mine. The other project I talked about was Saturday Night. It sits right along strike of Sunday Lake along a structure or a fault, which has kind of been the avenue or the avenue for which these intrusions have come up along. And it's exactly identical in every way to Sunday Lake, except only has 1 drill hole in it. The discovery intersection at Saturday Night is actually better than the discovery intersection at Sunday Lake. So we're pretty excited to get back out on the ground and do some more drilling on Saturday Night. We talked about our great team, and again, we do have a significant track record. Myself and Greg Collins founded the company. Greg and I have worked together for decades. In fact, we first met in the early 90s. We worked together in a large corporation called Falconbridge, which later became Xstrata. Branched out to build transition metals on our own. Again, really good experience base, good track record of discovery, a very good pedigree of exploration through to mine development. Tom Hart is our principal geologist. He's the one that keeps us in the know with respect to advances in research, and he is a keen eye on the rocks. I like to say that Tom stood on every outcrop in Ontario, and as one of the senior geoscientists in the industry in Canada. Ben Williams joined us in 2018. He's a senior geologist with a master's in geology. He's worked in a number of different areas and is our key guy for operating the projects in the field. I'll leave you with this. In terms of catalysts coming up, we got a lot of things coming down the pike. More news to come out on Maude Lake and Pike in the coming weeks in terms of advancing our research. We'll kick off those exploration projects in the spring, and we're hopeful to get in on Saturday night and start working that closer into the summer. So as we move into the spring, there'll be increased news flow on all these projects. Very high-grade projects, should produce very good results, and hopefully take us through to discovery within the coming years. We'll look for deal flow. We've recently announced a recent deal done on one of our projects, but there's a number of negotiations and evaluations being done by companies that will bring some more revenue into the company as we partner out or even sell some of these projects that we have, the bundle of 20 different projects. And we're real excited about Canadian Gold Miner. We hope it will be a public listing this year. That will convert our 15 million private shares to public shares, and we can consider what we want to do, whether we want to sell those and bring in more revenue, dividend them out to shareholders going forward. So lots of flexibility, lots of optionality. So with that, Anna, that's sort of my presentation. Hopefully it wasn't too technical. Always willing to answer any questions and available anytime for anybody who wants to go offline and discuss the company.
Great. Thank you, Scott. Yes, we do have some questions for you. Let's talk a little bit about the nickel projects. So Kim Fitzgerald asks, nickel projects, 2 projects. It's in the 10 million in resources that you mentioned. I think you mentioned this is a development project. Can you clarify?
Yeah, so that project is actually held within one of our well, it was a subsidiary that we now have equity ownership in called SPC Nickel. And that's correct. It has a 10 million ton resource, and we've just added what we think should be potentially another 16 million tons right at surface. And we'll be focused on drilling that that resource off over the coming months so that we can deliver a feasibility study within a couple of years. At that point, we will then have a procurement or development decision to make once that feasibility study is complete. So trying to fast track that one through the development, we are converting SPC from an exploration company more into a development company as we drill off the resource there.
Great. And Klaus Eric Simonsbacka, I hope I pronounced that correctly, asks, is any of your nickel type of rocks associated with rare earth elements?
No, I mean, rare earth elements are generally associated with a different type of rock. We do have opportunity for rare earth elements on a couple of our projects, particularly one called Bancroft. But notably, our nickel projects would not correlate with typically correlate with rare earth element opportunities.
And so nickel has been identified as a key critical metal that's high demand and seen significant price increase in recent times. So does the Maude Lake project have the opportunity to deliver a resource in the near term?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, you're right. Nickel has really taken off over the last couple of years. And that's, although we still have, it's still driven a lot by industrial production and the production of stainless steel. The introduction of the electrification of society, and particularly the advancement of EV vehicles, electric vehicles, have really increased the demand for what we call C1 nickel to help build those batteries. So that's what's driven the price up to close to $13 a pound over recent times, and that's why we went after Maude Lake. Maude Lake is one of those projects that is producing the right types of mineralization that we think could be extensive given the size of the hosting rock or the hosting intrusion. So yes, to answer your question, it has the opportunity to be a large-scale magmatic nickel deposit. It will, in terms of delivering a resource, that won't happen this year. But if we have good success, we'll increase our attention on the project, and hopefully next year or the following year could get to a resource stage.
Great, thank you for that. Patrick Pleat asks, when do you expect to sell the SPC shares?
Well, I don't want to sell them. I think it's completely undervalued. I could see moving some of them off, but right now SBC is sitting at around 12 cents a share. We think that some of the recent research we've seen, independent research we've seen, prices it at 30 to 48 cents a share. And so we really want to see what unfolds over this next few months as they drill off the Vale side of that property. And we'll make that assessment whether we want to sell some of those shares. I don't think we'll sell all of them, but we may choose to sell a few of them either into the market or through some sort of cross transaction.
And Glenn West wants you to clarify, sell securities to bring revenue in. Are these from your projects? And is it fair to say that investing in your company would result in benefiting from exit strategies from your projects?
Yeah, it's a good question. There's always that confusion out there in the market, but because we have so many projects, we can't work them all. We look to activate some of them through option agreements and joint ventures, where a partner comes in, actually spends the money, mitigates the risk for us, and we get to go along for the ride. And often in those situations, we do sell off 100% in some cases of those projects, but we always retain exposure to the upside through the retention of a royalty and milestone payments that would come into play downstream. In some cases, we do maintain a minority interest. So we're focused on the projects. We're spending our own money on the projects that we're really excited about right now, the Pike Warden, Maude Lake, and Saturday Night. And we are looking to activate the more idle assets through transactions. And to speak to selling securities to bring revenues in from your attendee there, participant, basically these shares come to us through transactions. Often a transaction will include a cash payment, issuance of shares over time, and expenditures on the ground. Those shares tend to accumulate. So we haven't gone out and bought those. Those are shares that we brought in. We haven't bought them for cash. We've sold interest in projects to have those shares. And often they are able to provide us a good revenue stream, if you like to call it that, or bring income into the company through the divestiture of some of those marketable securities. And we do that together with a trader, and do it very carefully and as wisely as we can.
Perfect. Adam Holt wants you to talk about your royalties. What do they amount to, and will they be growing?
Yeah, the previous question dealt with, selling off certain assets, and we always retain royalties. So our royalty base today is probably worth about $2 million in terms of our valuation of the project, of the royalties. We have 6 of them. One of them in particular is worth more than many of the others, in our opinion. They're hard things to value, but we did do a transaction in 2020 with a company called Nova Royalties, where we sold them a bundle of our royalties that we had, and that's really what set our measure on how we value these royalties. So right now, they're, in terms of value today, if we were to sell them, we anticipate that we'd get $2.5 million for them, for the 6 royalties. But we will start to accumulate more as we do more deal flow on some of the other projects.
Great. Let's talk a little bit about the Pike Warden project. It seems very exciting and very large. So how much do you intend to spending on that project? Plus, how many meters of drilling? And give us some objectives. Might there be a major company partner in the future?
Yeah, this is the kind of project that a major would attract a major. It's still fairly early. I don't think it's been recognized in the past, and we're able to kind of acquire this project under option and identify a number of showings, and then we're really starting to put the whole system together into a large mineralizing system. In terms of expenditures coming into 2023, we're looking at somewhere between $300,000 to $500,000 on the project. So a small project. We can't go into this full guns a-blazing until we understand it a little better. And we anticipate that will include drilling near the end of the summer. How much drilling, I'm uncertain, but we'll look at probably drilling another 3 or 4 holes in some of these high-grade showings as we go forward.
Wonderful. Well, this is exciting stuff. We really appreciate you being on our conference and definitely want you to come back with some updates in the near future.
Okay, my contact information's on the slide. If you jot it down, you can either call my phone number or send me an email. We can set up a direct meeting with any of your investors.
Perfect. We will do that. Thank you so much for joining us, Scott.
All right. Thanks, Anna. Enjoy your day. Bye now.
Thank you too. Okay, stay with us, everyone. We'll be right back with our next presenter.